Good morning and good day, everybody. Welcome to 60 Feet 6 Inches, episode 12. I'm your host, MB Whit. You guys all know. And obviously, who's always here, my right-hand man, Commish. Good morning, Commish.
Sidekick.
Yeah. But equal parts. We have an exciting show that we've been waiting for so long. We're going to talk about top 5 players, top 5 stadiums, top 5 pitchers, and top 5 favorite baseball movies. Are you ready, Commish?
I'm ready.
All right, we're going to get into it.
All right,
before we start, my favorite part of the show.
This
on
day in
this
baseball.
day in baseball history. This is a good one. On this day in baseball history, Eddie Collins, Willie Keeler, and George Sisler are elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame by the Baseball Writers Association of America. Sisler set the Major League season record for hits in a season with 257, which was broken by Ichiro Suzuki, that's pretty monumental right there.
Yeah, it is.
And he hit 257 hits in 1920, and he actually hit 420 in 1922 on his way to a 340 career batting average. Eddie Collins batted an even 333 for his career and stole 744 bases as a member of 4 World Series champions, which Connie Mack holds Eddie Collins. He used to. He's not alive anymore, but close to his heart. Eddie Collins being the college man and also part of the team in the 1919 Black Sox scandal, which we all know Eddie Collins was completely separate from and did not participate, which everybody should give immunity to Shoeless Joe. Very sad story. Everybody look it up, which actually is one of my favorite movies in the list, but we'll get to that. All right. And Willie hit him where they ain't Keeler. Hit 341 and had a lifetime of 2,932 hits. So that's a great class right there. And we'll see what the Baseball Writers Association see what they who they vote in this year. I'm hoping Billy Wagner gets in, and I'm hoping that Andrew Jones gets a lot more votes. But in this day in baseball history, all right, Commish, so we have a rapid fire because for some reason there was no action and then there's a lot of action. So I just want to cover that just for our technical fans. All right, so we're going to burn through it, okay? The Reds released Mike Moustakas, which he signed a 4-year deal, $64 million in 2020, and he's been pretty invisible ever since then. I mean, he played 62 games in 2021, and then he played only 78 in 22.
Does anybody really care about Mike Moustakas?
Well, I'm sure there's some listeners.
Thought this was rapid fire.
It is rapid fire. You're right. Also, I want to cover, before we get any further, I want to give respect to the former MLB players that passed within the last couple weeks. 3-time All-Star and 10-year veteran Nate Colbert. He was mostly known for his time with the Padres. Passed on the 5th of January at 76. And also 2-time Rolaids Relief Man of the Year, Bill Soup Campbell, which in 1976 as a reliever was 17-5 through 168 innings, pitched 78 games, and finished 68. So all you relievers out there, eat your heart out. Also, what we got to do is we got to cover Ted Savage, 9-year veteran, passed away at 85, and Frank Joseph Thomas, not the big hurt, died at 93. He played for 16 years. And also a really beloved player for the 72, 73, 74 Oakland Athletic champions, Sal Bando. He passed away at 78. And he was at the end of his career after he retired and got away from the game. He started a porcelain doll company, Commish?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Porcelain dog company?
Yeah, no, doll.
Doll.
Not like a Cabbage Patch Kids, but
right. I know what you're talking about. I know what porcelain is.
Yeah, thank you. Like precious moments.
Not lettuce kids.
But he was part of the huge champion team in 73, 72, 73, 74. And it's so funny because my father, he actually, one of the biggest things that he talks about whenever he was a kid in baseball, he said he loved the athletics. They got a powerhouse. You got Catfish Hunter, Raleigh Fingers, the switch hitting pitcher, Vida Blue, and also you have Reggie Jackson, a young, powerful Reggie Jackson, Joe Rudy, Blue Moon Odom, Ray Fosse, and then Gene Tennis. So, I mean, lights out. No wonder that they beat the Big Red Machine.
Their unis were sick, too.
Yes, they were. Yes, bring those back for real. I love that mustard yellow. But a powerhouse of a team that the only team that stood in their way was the Big Red Machine at that time. So, I mean, hats off to them. And Sal Bando, you definitely will be missed. And, just want to give respect to those guys. And the baseball community always mourns for stuff like that, so we wanted to make sure that we can recognize it. But thank you for that. 2-second pause. Back to rapid fire. All right, here we go. All right, so Juan Soto and Josh Hader both avoid arbitration. Juan Soto gets $23 million for 1 year, and Josh Hader gets $14 million, which Josh Hader's dominant. Juan Soto's dominant. I thought it was high for Juan Soto, but then I looked at past arbitration, and it was Mookie Betts that had got 1 year for $27 million, and then Shohei Ohtani got 1 year for $30 million.
Really?
Yeah. Side note, Artie is not selling the Angels.
I did see that.
Yeah. So, are you going to keep Ohtani? I don't think so. You shouldn't, right? Shouldn't you trade him?
You would think.
You would think. Maybe he's dipping into somebody else's pockets and figuring out what he's going to do. But anyways, we'll get all to that. Trevor Bauer is released by the Dodgers, which, not surprising, but he was found not guilty. And then I guess the commissioner's office wanted to punish him anyways to make an example out of him, I guess. I mean, but if you're found not guilty, I mean, the female that put a restraining order out on him, it was even denied by the judge. So wouldn't you think that with all that evidence, if there was something that was really, I don't know, if it was harming her or putting her in danger, wouldn't something like that be...
He's a nut job, but...
Well, yeah.
I mean, somebody's going to snag him for a cheap price.
Yeah, Dodgers on the hook for $22.5 million.
I think it only cost you like $750,000 to get him.
Bring him up. Bring him up. I mean, somebody could use it for sure. Absolutely. But, all right, so what we missed is the Phillies acquired Gregory Soto from the Detroit Tigers to try to help their bullpen help, but they got Craig Kimbrell also, which we talked about last episode. But is that's the void that they all need? I mean, they got all the players. They got Harper, you got Hoskins, you got Turner, you got Castellanos, Brandon Marsh, Aaron Nola. I mean, a lot of guys that are good. But is it going to make a difference?
Well, Harper's, it's going to be a while since he
he'll
back.
be about All-Star break with his UCL tear.
Is that what they're saying? That soon?
Well, he said that the progress is running smoothly, whatever that means. Sounds like a PR stunt to me.
I think when you look at the NL East, you have a lot of teams. There's strengths and weaknesses, right?
Yeah, of course.
So
yeah. Liam Hendricks takes a break from baseball, diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He made a statement saying that, we caught it early. He said within like the first week of that he found out that he's getting treated for it. So usually in those cases, if it's treated early, it's fine. But that's actually what Mickey Mantle's father and grandfather died of, and that is kind of the ruse behind why he lived so hard. Because you live fast, die young. But unfortunately for the Mick, that liver couldn't hold out. Even after he got it replaced in 95.
Yeah.
Everybody go back and watch Bob Costas' interview with Mickey Mantle. Very, very good. Commish, I love that interview. All right, go back to rapid fire. Wade Miley goes to the Brewers for 1 year, 4.5, all that good stuff. Miguel Rojas got traded from the Marlins to the Dodgers. I think that's to fill the gap for Trey Turner, what he's missing, But
it's a big gap to fill.
Absolutely. Can you replace Trey Turner? I don't think so. Pete Alonso and Vlad Jr. both avoid arbitration. 1 year, $14.5 million. Cubs signed Trey Mancini, which he was actually out on the market for a while. I'll give him 2 years, $14 million. I think that's fair. We'll see what he does in a full season where he's back. Maybe a second season technically where he's back and got the cancer behind him and everything. We'll see what he does in the Windy City. See if they'll help Cody Bellinger and Dansby, Swanson, maybe. We'll see. But Adam Duvall kind of stuck in the wing for a little bit, signed with the Red Sox for 1 year, $7 million, which ain't bad, But I know one team that wouldn't pay that for him. Nope. Also, the Twins traded Luis Arias for Pablo Lopez to the Marlins, which Pablo's a pretty good pitcher.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And Luis is an excellent hitter. He won a Silver Slugger last year. We talked about him at the beginning of the season that he might win an MVP, but you know how that happens. Judge just being the freak that he is. But they get a couple prospects and a couple fillers to fill in that role in the infield, even though they have Segura.
Yeah, Marlins doing some good things.
Yeah, except
I mean, when you got the Braves and the Phillies and the Mets in your division,
trying to win.
I mean, they're trying to at least be competitive, right?
Yeah, but are you trying to reach the 10,000 fan threshold every night? I don't even think they reached that.
Oh, it's better than that's going on in Washington.
Oh, that's very true. Hey, but they got Corey Dickerson. 1 year, $2 million. I told you they're bringing back Big City. I told you that. Matt Adams, right? But speaking of Miami, the GM has announced, Ms. Gwynn has announced that Jazz Chisholm is moving to center field. What?
Interesting.
That's pretty tough on the knees. Is that? Do you know if Lone Depot Park is AstroTurf or if it's real?
I think it's real.
Is it real? Okay, well, it may not be such wear and tear if it is real. But still, I mean, I thought it was. But, I mean, Jazz Chisholm is a pivotal infielder. Why are you going to move him to the outfield, especially center field? Do they not have any more options? You know, because I thought, Segura was there, and then you put Jazz Chisholm at second, or however they do that. So Luis Arias is going to go to second, which a lot of times he played, maybe not all the time fully, but he played first base in Minnesota, so we'll see. But a couple other signings, Tommy Slap You in the Face fam is going to New York. Brian Anderson's going to Milwaukee. So the New York Mets thought that they were getting one shortstop. Turns out they don't want no part of that. Carlos Correa is going back to Minnesota for 6 years, $200 million, and he can earn up to $70 million in incentives. I want to know
that's
what kind
a weird
of
situation.
I'll give you $70 million if you can steal 2 bases. He hasn't stolen one in the last 4 years.
It's an odd situation. Something's up.
Why is it that was his leg injury that significant to where Papa Cohen just kind of backed up from it and just said, you know what, it's just too much trouble? Or was it Boris maybe that pressed them too hard? Scott has a tendency
to do something like that.
Yeah.
But for him to go back to Minnesota, right back to Minnesota, I don't know. It's odd.
Right. Exactly. So, I mean, he's getting paid at least $34 each year, which is some change right there, you know. But he was the guy that was bouncing around, and it was for a good week and a half, almost 2 weeks, where nobody knew what was going on. Is he still playing baseball? Is he going to get signed? Obviously, he's going to get signed somewhere, but the Mets felt like that it wasn't worth it. And I was looking for the Giants to maybe come back in and sweep it, and then nope. Let's back it up. So Brandon Belt goes to the Blue Jays, which I saw an interview with Brandon Belt and saying that they're a World Series team. Excuse me? What? Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo.
Shit.
And Biggio, right?
Right.
You got Biggio's there, which, he's all right. But we got a couple of guys that on the team that are they're okay, But the good thing is whenever you have players that sign somewhere else, they always have this optimism, thinking that the team is going to go somewhere either north or south. I mean, most of the time it's going north because they want to win. That's why they're there. But AJ Pollock, 1 year, $7 million to the Mariners. And also we got Luke Weaver going to the Reds, 1 year, $2 million. Shintaro Fujiyami going to the A's for $1 million, or 1 year, $3 million. Excuse me. Ian Happ avoided arbitration with the Cubs, 1 year, almost $11 million. But that's pretty much it. I mean, we're pretty much caught up. Oh, Aroldis Chapman is going to the Royals, 1 year, $3.5 million, which I think that's actually a pretty good deal to take a chance on him. especially if he still throws smoke. I don't know if he does.
Yeah, let's get on some fun stuff, man. Come on.
All right.
Let's get through this.
So we got through all that, everybody. Now let's get to the fun part, the favorites of baseball. This is what this segment is called, Commish. All right. So I got top 5 baseball movies, top 5 stadiums, top 5 players, and top 5 pitchers. I wanted to do 2 categories because, pitchers are players as well.
I get that.
All right. So
let's go stadiums first.
All right, you go ahead, Commish.
You want to go 5 to 1? Like my 5th to my 1st?
Well,
I put them in order. Like my favorite.
I couldn't put them
Well,
in
you
order.
need to figure it out.
Okay, well, you go first.
All right, stadiums. From 5.
Okay.
Number 5. And I'm going to put this one in there just because I haven't been there. Yankee Stadium, number 5.
That was my number 5.
Okay, Yankee Stadium. I thought you didn't put them in order.
Well, it is on the paper.
Number 5, Yankee Stadium. Number 4, Wrigley. Okay, been there. Okay, it's cool. But it's a crappy stadium. I mean, it's pretty beat down, but it's nostalgic, right?
Exactly.
That's my point. 4.
Okay.
And number 3, Oracle Park in San Fran. Right?
Yeah.
And I want to be in the stadium, but I also want to be out there in a canoe. Or a
absolutely.
Kayak. A canoe. You see me in a canoe. Number 2, been there, done it, Camden Yards. Number 1, Fenway.
Okay.
And my honorable mention, because you said we could do one extra.
Yes, 1 reserve, honorable mention.
I put 2 in because they're very similar.
Go ahead. That's okay.
PNC and Petco. Just because it's sort of cool to see the city right there and from the outfield. They're both sort of similar, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, San Diego and Pittsburgh.
It's so funny that the Pirates aren't as relevant because PNC Park is absolutely gorgeous. It really is. That was a good one. That's a good one. We are almost the same. I have.
Do you have any different than what I had in there?
I do, but I also have the same. I'm going to go from 5 to 1.
Okay.
As you did. Okay. Number 5, Yankee Stadium.
Okay.
And these are not in order. I couldn't put them in order.
Okay, gotcha.
Number 4 is Wrigley.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Fenway Park.
Okay.
Number 2, Ebbets Field. And number 1, Polo Grounds.
Okay.
And my honorable mention or reserve was Forbes Field. Yeah, because that huge 483 out in center, And then what the owner of the park named it after a British soldier that fought in the
that farted
that fought in the American Indian War. And what they did is a lot of the players were complaining about how deep it would be. So what he did is he put a long wall in left field to pretty much compensate it.
You can't go to those anymore.
I know I can't.
So how can they be on your face? I mean, I don't. You know what I'm saying?
Polo Grounds are like a landmark in baseball.
Okay.
The Giants played
I get
there.
What you're saying.
The Yankees played there. The Raiders played there, right? So I thought it was, even though the symmetricals are, I think it's 230 in left and right, and then 505 in center. Famous catch by Willie Mays.
Yeah.
It's at the Polo Grounds, overhand catch. And Ebbets Field, obviously one of the greatest Dodger teams that won the World Series there, and then moved to Los Angeles, which I almost put Dodger Stadium. But I almost put PNC Park and also Scheib Field.
Okay.
Yeah. But, yeah, those are my
some similars.
5 and honorable mentions.
All right. Cool.
Okay, so let's go with...
Let's do something a little bit different this time.
All right, let's go.
Like, whatever you want to do, whatever category. But I'll do my 5 and you do your 5, and we'll work our way up.
Pitchers.
Okay, pitchers. My number 5. Man, I went with a new dude.
Did you put DeGrom?
No, I went with Strider, man.
Spencer Strider?
He's a Clemson boy. He's got the stash.
Biased.
And he throws heat.
He does throw smoke. He does.
He's fun to watch. Like every time he's on the bump, I have to make sure I'm watching.
I agree. Yeah.
And that's a little bit maybe premature because he's only been around for a year or so.
No, but that huge impact that he makes.
But you'll sort of see how my list goes. Why? Yeah, Spencer Strider is my 5.
All right.
He's my only recent dude, though.
Okay.
So who's your 5?
My number 5, and not in order, but I had Walter Johnson,
Oh gosh,
the big train.
did you enjoy watching him?
Old videos.
Right. I sort of went. All my lists are more around my like time frame, like guys that
Okay.
I've seen,
Yeah.
or when I grew up. But I get that.
Well, I told
Johnson,
you,
that's cool.
Commish, I'm more in the dead ball
no,
era, so I
no, you
study
are.
stats.
No,
and
that's
stuff like
awesome.
That, so
That's cool.
But and we'll go from all the way up to 1, and then we'll go over our reserve. Do you have a reserve? Also?
Oh yeah. I
Okay.
have a
All right.
reserve.
Number 4.
My number 4,
Yeah.
Fernando Valenzuela.
Ooh. Yes.
He was fun to watch, man.
Oh yeah.
especially in that
absolutely.
prime time.
Oh yeah.
And that was when I was like in high school, right?
Yeah.
When he rolled his eyes up in his head.
Yeah. Probably I would probably say the greatest Mexican American to play the game. Absolutely. It's disgusting. It's funny because my number 4 is a lefty also. He goes by the name of Lefty Grove. Lefty Grove. Young guy, Connie Mack boy, throws absolute smoke as a lefty, and workhorse, 300-game winner. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Keep it in the lefty ballpark right here.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I was a kid, I don't know why, but I was a Phillies fan. Steve Carlton.
Ooh.
I was a big Phillies fan. Every time the Phillies came to Atlanta, I wanted to go.
Tug McGraw, too?
Yeah, Tug McGraw, the whole, the Pete Rose,
Yep.
Manny Trio,
Mm-hmm.
Mike Schmidt,
Yeah.
Larry Boa. For some reason, I'm a big
Yes.
Larry Boa fan. But yeah,
Yeah.
Steve Carlton.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Fun one to watch. He dominated in that era.
Mm-hmm. All right, so my number 3 is it's pretty obvious, but the good thing was I was younger and I could watch him every single day. I'm going with Mad Dog.
He's my number 2.
No, he isn't.
Yeah,
Is he
Mad
really?
Dog, yeah.
I every time it's so funny because whenever you talk about pitchers that you want to see him watch, I was glued in just to see how many pitches or how less of amount of pitches is he going to throw to finish the game, And his 2-seam was just disgusting.
I mean, just watching a guy that doesn't throw heat but can paint, put it wherever he wants.
Yeah, and
amazing.
Not to mention, he has the all-time record for 18 Gold Gloves. Yeah, so he fielded his position perfectly. All right.
So here's my number 2. So you can go to your number 2.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Nolan Ryan Express.
Oh, he's my number 1.
Is he?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah? Okay.
How can you not have him number 1?
I got a good one for number 1. I think, and it's funny because I almost picked the Astrodome as one of my favorites stadiums also because it looks like you're in a spaceship. But Nolan Ryan is just different breed. Nobody will ever be like him.
He was feared.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny, in his earlier career, he had terrible control issues.
Oh, yeah. That's why he was feared even more.
Am I going to get plunked in the hip or am I going to die getting plunked in the head?
He was amazing. Obviously, most no-hitters, most one-hitters too, I believe.
Yes.
And just like you said, his sort of not in control at an early age sort of made him better as he got older, I think. I mean, you get in the box, that ball's coming. You don't know where it's going.
Mm-mm. That's right.
Plus, how can you not root for a dude that beats the living hell out of Robin Ventura?
Robin Ventura's biggest mistake was charging the mound after that because Nolan Ryan got
him a headlock and just start pounding
away. And he was over 40 at that time, right?
And then how can you not, the most iconic picture that I don't have that
I have one.
No.
Yes, where the line drive came back at
hit him, the blood picture.
Bo Jackson, yeah.
Is it signed?
It is signed.
Oh,
yeah.
Sweet.
Where like he has so much blood stains on his jersey, and he's literally just spitting it out.
Looking
after that
forward
line
to
drive.
my Christmas present from Whit next year.
Yes, sir. All right.
Yeah, that's my number 1.
Oh, he's your number 1?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so my number 1. I have 2, but I'm going to go with...
I have an idea who you might be going with, but go for it.
Sandy Koufax.
Yep, that's who I thought you were going to go with.
Mm-hmm. The most dominant pitcher, I believe, in the last 70, 80 years. Retired at 30, and I actually have his 65 Cy Young card.
Nice.
Yeah, where he retired that year, and somebody who has over 2,000 strikeouts, within 10 years. I mean, it's almost like you remember Kid Nichols, right? I think we talked about him a couple episodes. One of the youngest guys to reach 300 wins back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. But Sandy Koufax was just a different breed. So I don't think you can go wrong with Sandy. Honorable mentions, Commish?
I only had one, right? You said one reserve pitcher.
Okay.
Right. Well, I came up with one. Just because this guy was sort of different. And when he was on the bump, I always wanted to sort of see what type of antics. Al Hrabosky.
Oh.
Remember talking to the ball?
Yes.
He turned his back, he talked to the ball, and he slapped the glove and turned around right
That's
away and just fired in there.
Bulldog, yeah. I broke the rules, Commish. I had 2 honorable mentions.
That's okay. I just did that with the stadiums. You're good.
One was Christy Mathewson.
Okay.
Christian gentleman. And then my other one is right behind Nolan Ryan in strikeouts. The big unit, Randy Johnson.
Yeah, I thought about old Randy.
Mm-hmm. I remember watching that perfect game against the Braves. I knew it in the 3rd inning. I'm telling you, I knew it. In 2004, I knew it.
I mean, dude's like, what, 6'11"?
Yep.
So, and he has a long stride.
Yes, he does.
So, when he's releasing that ball, your show's 60 feet, 6 inches. Randy Johnson's podcast should be 46,
right.
46, 5 inches, because that's about where he's releasing the ball from. So, imagine seeing that thing being
right
released that close.
I mean, look, I think John Kruk still has a stain in his britches after literally that ball going right over his head at the All-Star game. You remember that?
Yeah.
And he turned Larry Walker went in the right-handed batter's box, turned his helmet around backwards. But
like the bird didn't even see it coming.
I know. God, that spring training was insane. It was everywhere. Talk about bad timing. Just bam.
Well, go instantly.
It's funny. I show my son that, and little Whit says, "Was that real?" I said, "Oh yeah, that was in spring training. That was real." He said, "Well, did the bird live?" I said, "I don't think so. You see all those feathers?"
That was crazy.
Yeah, it was. But
no, good list. I like that.
Good list. And
like
then
that.
I'm going to save the movies for last.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like that's more of a talk. But
players.
Top 5 players
with 2 reserves in this one.
2 reserves. Yep.
Okay.
Let's go ahead, Commish.
My number 5.
Yeah.
Back in my day, you couldn't watch much baseball on TV. Basically TBS, WGN, and This Week in Baseball on Saturdays. So I watched some Cubbies. Ryan Sandberg.
I knew you were going to say Sandberg.
Number 5.
Yeah, one of the greatest hitters in the Hall of Fame for sure. Great guy too, and it's unfortunate that he didn't manage, because he was the manager of the Phillies for a little bit, and just some guys can't translate.
Right.
Not saying that that's a defect on him or something like that, but some guys can't. Matt Holliday, he got hired as the bench coach for the Cardinals in November. He just resigned. Some guys want to take time away or something like that, can't translate it from the game to managing. Number 5 for me, the true all-time home run leader, all-time RBI leader, Henry Aaron. And if you took away all of his home runs, he still have over 3,000 hits. So, Milwaukee, Atlanta, Milwaukee again. That call from Vince Scully, whenever he hit the home run and talking about how an African-American man gets a standing ovation in the South, that hits pretty deep, and where he goes, hugs his mother, and the 2 guys come out, pat him on the back, stuff like that, and all that pressure, But, yeah.
Nice.
Number 5.
Well, Henry.
Yeah.
So my number 4?
Shoot it to me.
The kid. Ken Griffey Jr. He was probably, for me, one of the first, just natural, all-around, effortless 5-tool players.
Yeah.
That I've seen.
Mm-hmm. Him and probably Ricky, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I guess Ricky could be put in that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I really think that that if from him playing so hard, getting injured, whether it's the wrist or his legs, I think that if he would have spent a little bit more time active, he would have hit clear over 600 home runs. I mean, more than what he's got already, but maybe 650 even, But yeah, I mean, outfielder, stellar defense, speed. I mean, like you said, 5-tool player, and the most natural swing. I think seriously, him and Bonds and Will Clark, which is a second honorable mention, probably one of the sweetest swings you've ever seen. But that's a good one. My number 4 is Mr. Padre.
Oh, Tony Gwynn.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. Whenever I was growing up and learned the game of baseball, I used to watch Ken Griffey Jr., Tony Gwynn, and Fred McGriff, and of course another mention who's my number 1. And we would, all 2 of my brothers and myself. I was the only lefty, so I gravitated towards lefties because they were both righties, and I started switch hitting. But whenever I was a lefty, I would look at even Chipper Jones or something like that. But Ken Griffey Jr. and Tony Gwynn were the first people to where they could relate and simplify it to where you just straight through knob barrel to the bat, and also not to mention, I mean, one of the greatest hitters ever.
Definitely.
The most batting titles out of any player.
No doubt.
No doubt. Numero tres.
Numero tres. I just love how this guy played the game, man. Pete Rose.
Johnny Hustle.
Charlie Hustle.
What did I say, Johnny? I keep on saying it
Johnny.
because I think of
Charlie.
Johnny Bench. Yeah, Charlie Hustle.
Charlie
yeah.
Hustle, man.
Whitey Ford called him that in spring training. Did you know that?
He's dirty all the time, sliding.
Yeah, I'm talking like 10 feet from the bag. He'd
Could
lay out
hit.
like Superman.
Yeah, he was fun to watch.
And
he was a Philly back in the day when I liked the Phillies.
side note, if John Coppola gets reinstated to baseball, why is Pete Rose not in? Rob Manfred, if you're listening, which I hope you are, put him back in. Come on. And Shoeless Joe. Come on. Let's go. My number 3 was Ken Griffey Jr.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As I'm wearing my baseballism Ken Griffey Jr.
Nice.
sweatshirt, which I love. Best baseball brand on the market. Baseballism. Everybody check it out. Baseballism.com. But I'm kind of excited to talk about this again. Power Summit. I saw Ken Griffey Jr. turn on a 104-mile-an-hour fastball whenever he was in Cincinnati, and it literally obliterated it. I think it was I want to say it was against the Tigers in a interleague game, but I could be wrong. But the ball pitched was 104, and this man turned on it like it was nothing. No big deal. So that's a good one. Number 2, Commish?
Number 2. This might throw you off a little bit.
Bring it.
George Brett.
Almost
2.
hit 300. Almost hit 400.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Fun
Billy
to
Martin
watch,
loved
man.
that pine tar incident, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. He could hit, man.
Yeah, he had some.
He was nose
power.
to the ground.
Yep.
And he was like all business
There's a
between
picture.
the lines.
There's a picture of him, which I want this picture where he's at Kauffman Stadium, and he's kissing home plate as he's leaving. It's a absolute gem of a picture, and it's beautiful. But yeah, guy that played the game the right way, got that chaw, that red man in his cheek, and then I thought Billy Martin was actually pretty brilliant by bringing up to the umpires about the pine tar because they had no idea about the pine tar. And Billy just comes out there and says, I don't know about that. And then they use the home plate to measure it? What? I don't even think that's ever been done before.
That's crazy.
And then George just
Storming.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody as angry. Because after that, I think he tied the game or maybe took the lead, and then they took it away, and then they ended up losing the game. But that's a good one. My number 2 is Roger Maris.
Okay.
Yeah. Big fan, huge fan of the Yankees growing up. But Roger Maris sticks out to me only because him playing on a big stage, coming from Kansas City and winning the MVP in 60, especially as the same outfield as Mickey Mantle in a very high-pressured city, and then winning it again in 61. And breaking the single-season home run record of Babe Ruth, which at the time Roger Maris, being an old country guy, wasn't a fan of the media in New York, and everybody had portrayed him the wrong way. Just wanted to play. And overcame adversity in the last game of the season, hit 61, and they actually have that ball and his bat in the Hall of Fame, and it's amazing. It's amazing. But after that, it's so funny. I have a picture of him hitting his 61st home run, just the still picture, and there's a lot of quotes written on the back saying, he said, as a player, I would love to play that 1961 season again. But he said, as a human, he said, I don't think I could ever go through it again, And he was never the same after that. Played with the Cardinals, a little bit. Actually was on a World Series team with him and Bob Gibson. Bob Gibson. That's another one of my reserves for pitchers. But yeah, personal favorite. Love me some Raj. Yeah.
Nice.
How about you, Commish?
My number one.
Numero uno.
Cal Ripken Jr. Longevity.
Yep.
Consistent.
Iron horse.
Just a
Times
solid dude.
Yeah.
He wasn't the most natural shortstop, you could say, but he got the job done.
Yep. Yeah. Very controlled, violent type of swing. Like you remember in Atlanta at Turner, whenever he had, was it 5 hits or 6? It was 6 hits, I think. 2 home runs that day, and he was hitting them where they ain't. And it's funny because how you talk about how now I'm not going as far as saying Hunter Pence strange as far as, but you're right. Seemed unorthodox, but got it done, and probably, arguably one of the best shortstops, hitting shortstops. Ozzy's up there, of course, and Derek Jeter, but and Jimmy Rollins, but good pick. That's definitely a good pick.
Yeah, an MLB record that'll never be broken.
No, oh my gosh, the way that they're treated like children nowadays, golly, they're fragile. You ready for my number one?
Sure.
Theodore Samuel Williams.
Nice choice.
Greatest hitter who ever lived. Only, I would say, the greatest player, but it's tough to differentiate the greatest player of all time. You could argue for Willie Mays or even Joe D. But Ted Williams literally is the picture of hitting if you look it up in the dictionary. Triple Crown. 3-time Triple Crown winner. Should have won the MVP whenever Joe D won it, but that's okay. But greatest hitter ever. He was one of the other guys that I was telling you that I studied. He's got the book. It's called The Science of Hitting. I read that. I'm talking like a 1980s version of it with a paperback and everything where the pages were ripped. I read that almost every day, literally. My father got it whenever we were smaller, and I used to sneak it away, and I used to read it all the time, and he would have a strike zone chart, and it would give percentages on what he hit. This guy never fell behind 360, even if it was a ball that was pitched low at his ankles in the right-handed batter's box. And then it would show your sweet spots, and then it would show you the science of hitting, how not to roll your wrist and follow through, and how to stay back in the box so you can read the pitch all the way. But, yeah, love me some Teddy Williams. Teddy
Nice.
Ball Game.
Nice.
A splendid splinter, But, yeah. Even though those lists were hard, Commish.
They were. There's a lot of guys that were not on there, right? But
you got your reserves.
But the names were good. Yeah, I got 2. And with my reserves, I sort of went not necessarily like iconic guys, but just dudes that. And I think one of them, you mentioned him earlier, that he was on your honorable mention list. Will the Thrill Clark.
Will the Thrill Clark.
He's one of my
Thunder and Lightning and Palmero.
And then the other guy who again probably had one of the sweetest swings, and unfortunately, with things that went on with his personal life, never really got to see probably what the best of Josh Hamilton could have been.
Wow, I saw that 4 home run game that he had. You know what? That is a great honorable mention, Commissioner. Seriously,
and probably one of the best performances I've ever seen in home run derby.
Oh my gosh, him and Morneau at Yankee Stadium. Oh, fantastic.
That one round, he just was, and unbelievable. His demons, man.
So much natural talent. Even whenever he came back through.
did he fall to all that stuff? Or has he sort of gotten out?
No,
of
he's
it?
cleaned up. Yeah, he
because I read his book, which is a great book, and he did get cleaned up by that. I think he fell back a little bit.
Yeah,
so maybe he.
But
man, he had the ability,
natural talent, and that swing. Oh my gosh, his swing just. It's so funny because a lot of bigger guys, like whenever I think of big guys, big swings, I think of like the Big Hurt. Or even like David Ortiz or even Barry Bonds. But for some reason, the way that his swing was where he had the hitch where he dropped and then came through, it was just it's like poetry in motion. And whenever he hit those 4 home runs, I'm telling you, it was a crazy moment. I think Ron Washington cried in that dugout. I'm serious. And that MVP season that he had was just, I think he hit over 340, just absolutely ridiculous. And it's unfortunate that players like that happen, but they're human. They're human. They're not superheroes. But, yeah, that's really good. That's really good, Commish. I'm proud of you. That was a good.
Thanks,
one.
man.
Yeah, so you had Will the Thrill and then Josh Hamilton?
Yeah.
All right, so I had 2. Mickey Mantle.
Okay.
Probably other than maybe Eddie Murray and Chipper Jones, the greatest switch hitter ever. And then I had the Flying Dutchman, Johannes Wagner.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because Honus Wagner played, till he's like 45, and you can put him anywhere.
You went old school. That's
Yeah.
you, though. I mean, I get
that's
that.
me.
That
Yeah.
sort of makes our list good, right?
Yeah.
And just coming off the top of my head, guys left off. Of course, the Ricky Hendersons, the Ozzie Smiths, for me. Even like Dave Winfield.
Yes.
Guys like that.
Mm-hmm. And Nap Lajaho. It's funny because I almost mentioned Willie Keeler, even though he was in our this day in baseball history. Because it's so funny because isn't that what coaches say nowadays? Hit them where they ain't.
Right.
Also,
which will get a little bit easier this year without the shifts.
That's true. I wanted to put Andrew Jones in there, also as an honorable mention.
Yeah, I was a big Chipper fan too.
Yeah,
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Braves. Yeah, I think with the Braves, I saw so much of them that it's like
you got used to it. You didn't realize how dominant they were.
How great they were to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I always thought Mark Limmer. I thought he was like one of the greatest postseason hitters. Seriously. And then Donnie Baseball. Great left-handed hitter. But that was good. And now let's move on to feature films.
I have a feeling we're going to be nowhere close to each other on this. Because I think old Whit is going to go like some old school films, which is cool. And I get that. I like that. I'm sort of going with the fun stuff. Usually most sports movies I like true type stories, right? Like my football movies, it's like all like
We Are Marshall.
Like real movies, like
Remember
it happened, right?
Yeah.
Baseball, I'm not really that way. It's sort of weird.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe a couple.
I already know what movie you're going to say. Since you said that, I already know what your first one is.
You probably know what a lot of mine are, right?
Yeah.
All right, so number 5.
All right.
I'm going The Sandlot. All right, just because it's something new, right? It's sort of cool. And by far, my favorite scene in any movie, any genre, anything, is Squints and Wendy Peppercorn.
Obviously.
That's the best scene ever.
They had 9 kids.
If that freaking movie comes on and we haven't gotten to that scene,
you'll watch it all the way through.
I'm watching it until
even
it comes
if you
up.
own the movie already.
And then I just saw a post like not even a couple days ago
of them together.
Yeah, reunited.
Yeah. They look pretty good for their age. Yeah,
I didn't even really look at Squints.
Oh, he's squinting. That's why.
Peppercorn looked really good.
All right.
So yeah, Sandlot. It probably should have been an honorable mention, but I put it as 5.
Hot take. I don't have the Sandlot on there.
Yeah,
I
mean,
know.
I get it.
I know it is my childhood for sure, and my son's childhood for sure. Absolutely, he watches that movie all the time because it is a solid baseball movie.
The way I sort of looked at my movies, like if I'm just sort of hanging around the house and I'm flipping and I'm bored, I'm flipping TV, and I see a movie, I'm like, and I've seen it multiple times, and then I stop and I'll watch it. That's on my list.
Yeah.
So Sandlot, like, yeah, if it's coming across, I'll watch it. Probably not all the way from beginning to end anymore,
Fair.
but definitely if it's on, I'm like, oh, cool.
You definitely got to see the end whenever Benny the Jet Rodriguez steals home.
Oh, no doubt.
That's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie, But also whenever Babe Ruth shows himself to Benny, tells him, just hop over there and get it. A giant gorilla dog ding.
Awesome.
All right,
stuff.
so number 5 for me, Bull Durham.
Oh, that's my 4.
Is it?
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Kevin Costner seems to make these baseball movies.
He can make some baseball movies.
Yes, he can. Yeah, and I think the way that Kevin Costner's chemistry with Tim Robbins and Newt LaLoosh in the movie, him being it is so the reason why it's such a good movie, but baseball movie is because he thinks like a player. The lingo, the language, everybody that's a baseball player that's listening to this podcast knows that language. You know what I mean? They know that language. And they know how the catcher is out to help the pitcher succeed. And one of my favorite scenes in that movie is whenever Newt LaLoosh shakes him off. He tells him fastball's coming.
Yep.
And he hits a fastball off the bull to get a steak. And he says, "What are you doing? I give you a gift and you show up my pitcher? Run, dummy."
Yep.
And he said, "I don't know. Seems like he
Knew what I was throwing.
knew what I was throwing. How did he know? Because I told him." But that's my number 5. Yeah. Not to mention that, Susan Sarandon is beautiful. in the
Yeah,
movie.
great lesson for a lot of young baseball players.
Yes.
The pool hall scene.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Kevin-
Try to hit me with this.
Even better, Kevin Costner gets blocked upside the head. What hand did you hit me with?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
As long as it's not your pitching hand.
As long as it's not your pitching hand.
So you young guys out there.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly. Don't be like what's his name? He's a Braves pitcher. Hit two grand slams. What's his name? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Obviously, he's not relevant. I can't think of his name, but he was doing well, and he punched the bench or something like that, and he got out, and they lost him, and now he's back down. So, note to self and the young players: don't hurt your throwing hand. All right. So number 4. Go ahead, Commish.
Oh, that was your was that
No.
your 4? That was your 5, wasn't it?
That was my 5. Oh, that
That
was
was
your
my
4.
4. Yeah,
Okay,
so you
okay.
need to tell me your 4.
8 Men Out,
Oh, nice.
1919 Black Sox scandal.
Yeah.
Curly Weaver, Joe Jackson, and that movie is even though it's a little older, but it's still I love the element of it, especially the way that they make Comiskey Park. It's fantastic. Even though that in that movie, I believe that Joe Jackson is a righty, but in real life he's a lefty.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the way that they portray the sports writers, how the sports writers can get into the players and then pretty much just manipulate them. And then I love that they went to Kennesaw Mountain Landis and decided that, there's a lot of irregularities because there was a scandal even whenever Ty Cobb was playing that they were throwing games. But the way that they treated Curly Weaver and Joe Jackson, even though they performed, and it's funny because in real life, all the evidence that they had in the confessions, they just disappeared. So they were all acquitted, but Kennesaw Mountain Landis still banned them for life. And there is at the end, Curly Weaver sitting in the stands, and Joe Jackson is playing in some independent ball league, and there's people in the stands, and they're saying, he looks familiar. It looks like him. And, of course, they're talking about Joe Jackson. And Curly Weaver's in the stands. He's a little bit older. This was years later. He said, "You know what? That's not him. I saw him, and he was the best there ever was," which Babe Ruth talks about how he modeled his swing after Joe Jackson. Babe Ruth talked about that a lot. And even years later, which I'll get to this, Commish, I'm sorry. But years later, Joe Jackson owned a liquor store. And Ty Cobb came in there. It's really sad. They check out, and everything, and Ty Cobb is just waiting for Joe Jackson to say something to him. And before he leaves, Ty turns around and he says, "Well, don't you know me, Joe?" And Joe says, "Well, of course I do, Ty, but I didn't think you'd want to know me." You know? So stuff like that is really good. It's really good, you know? And that's why Rob Manfred needs to reinstate him, you know, in the Hall of Fame, because he deserves it. He deserves it, you know? But great film. Great film.
Nice.
Yeah. So what's your number 3?
Number 3, this is a feel-good movie.
Is it a feel-good movie?
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, I think it's one of those movies like, it was my oldest son who's 27. His favorite movie.
I know what it is.
Favorite movie. Angels in the Outfield.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, that is, yeah.
Every time it's on, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Because it makes me happy.
Yeah.
It's a great little fun movie.
Bass sets and sets and sets again. I love it because whenever Matt Bass would come to the mound, he'd always slide to the mound and then get up and start throwing, you know. But that's Danny Glover. I love him in that movie. It's George Knox. I love him in that movie.
How about, it might have been one of the very first movies Matthew McConaughey was in.
That's right, yeah. That's right, yeah. Because
Center
he's the
fielder.
guy that got picked up and then,
Yeah.
he's like, how did I do that, Skip? Yeah, that's a good one, yeah. My number 3 is 61.
Okay.
With the Roger Maris 61 season. Great film by Billy Crystal. Exclusively was on HBO for a long time, especially I think it was 2002, 2001 or something like that. But I was a teenager, and even though I was already a Roger Maris fan, whenever that came out, I went nuts over that movie. I thought it was because Barry Pepper and then Thomas Jane are almost identical to Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle. And the way that they used Tiger Stadium to create old Yankee Stadium was just fantastic. And Thomas Jane just nailed Mickey Mantle, you know, out of the park. And it shows a lot of the biased sides of the reporters, how they didn't like Maris, and Maris wasn't this New York kind of guy and stuff like that. But I mean, I will say this: the film score is really, really fantastic. The film score in the movie is it is top notch. You can't get a better soundtrack than that. Very good, you know. But good, real good baseball movie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're way off of each other, but this is good.
Yeah,
like
it's
it.
okay. Yeah.
So my number 2,
Go for it.
the original, Bad News Bears.
That is good. Yeah, that is good. You know, watching
That might have been one of the very first movies I ever saw in the theater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's
that and Smokey and the Bandit.
There
But
you go.
yeah, Bad News Bears, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on.
I mean, it's
Beer in the dugout.
Yeah,
Bunch of misfits.
Boilermaker.
Tanner.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Going crazy
Oh
at
my
shortstop.
gosh. Yeah, it's so funny because my son loves that movie. He loves to replay the scene whenever the young kids on the other team are running around and Tanner trips him and throws his glove at him whenever they're walking around and stuff like that. But I love how, and especially in that movie, I love how whenever he's I can't think of the kid's name, but he loves Hank Aaron, and he gets really embarrassed.
Is it Muhammad?
Yeah, exactly. And he takes off his jersey and he hides in the tree. And Walter Matthau comes up. He said, you know, when Hank Aaron came, you know, he was terrible, and he wanted to quit, which wasn't true, but he gave him confidence. And then, of course, the kid did so much better and stuff like that, you know. And even in that movie, what I love it whenever he said he struck out Ted Williams in spring training, which was pretty good. And it's just that reminds me. Even though it was in the mid to late 70s, that reminded me how we played baseball growing up. The same thing where you start every year, you know, they have the national anthem and the pictures all the same day. And, you know, parents were smoking Black and Milds or cigars and stuff like that, drinking beer. You know, it was kind of feel good. And then you go to Pizza Hut afterwards and stuff like that. It was just like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't think you had your superstar riding around on a motorcycle. And
No,
coming in, but
no.
that was pretty. Kelly
Yeah.
Luke was the bomb.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny whenever they go to the ballet where
I forgot about that
what's her
scene.
name? Tatum
O'Neal.
Yeah, Tatum O'Neal is. And he's like, he's like, I'm hitting 641. I'm on the Bears. You know, the Bears. And then the ballet instructor says, y'all get out of here. And Tanner says, we're talking baseball here, championships. So good. But yeah, that's a good one. My number 2 is I had to toggle it between number 1 and number 2, but Field of Dreams.
Okay.
The biggest thing is obviously with all of the Shoeless Joe, which in that movie, Shoeless Joe is right-handed as well. Well, he's actually a lefty, but Ray Liotta did a great job playing him. And then Mel Ott and even Moonlight Graham. It's funny because Moonlight Graham was my nickname whenever I played baseball. Yeah. They used to call me Moonlight all the time. And I think the biggest thing at the end is whenever it was all designed to play catch with his father.
Sure.
So that one kind of hold close to me and, ease his pain, go the distance.
I need to probably rewatch that. That used to be one of my favorites.
It's so good.
But now it's been a while.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm. And at the end where he says, Dad, you want to have a catch? I mean,
yeah, that's pretty
crazy.
Cool.
Oh, man, it hits you.
Yeah, another Kevin Costner.
I know. But you want to do your honorable mentions before you do number one?
Sure.
All right.
I only had one honorable mention. Major League.
I had Major League 1 and 2. Yeah, only because I love freaking Rube Baker. I think he's one of the most hilarious baseball characters I've ever seen. And that and Willie Mays Hayes, of course. And then I have
bunch of lollygaggers.
Yeah, exactly. I have honorable mentions. I have a couple, if that's okay.
Commish. Yeah, go with it.
A League of Their Own, which the biggest reason is because whenever Tom Hanks is talking to Jeannie Davis about baseball, he said it lights you up. He said she said it got too hard. He said it's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, anybody would do it. Baseball is what lights you up, what gets inside you. And of course, Jimmy Dugan was a mirror of Jimmy Fox. One of the greatest power hitters ever. And that scene is probably the best, and that's got a good film score also. And then I had Summer Catch.
Oh, okay.
Summer Catch was one that I watched in high school a lot. Me and my brother used to watch it almost every single Friday before we'd have a game. Very good.
Was that the
Freddie Prinze Jr.?
Yeah, the dude riding on
the
mowing grass and stuff?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, Ryan Dunn. And there's one scene where he's talking to his brother, and at first, towards the beginning of the movie, Ryan Dunn's a hard head, stuff like that. He's a hot head, can't control himself. And then at the end, whenever he gets the start to pitch against a star team where there's a lot of scouts, originally one guy was going to do it, but you got to watch the movie. He wasn't scheduled. So they placed him in there as a starter that day, and he used to, go around being like a know-it-all, and he finally sat down and asked his brother, and his brother said, just pitch your game, you'll be fine. And he stopped him. He said, what is my game? And he goes through, he told you fastball for strikes, curveball, you're dangerous. You're better than any of the guys out there. And he said, I can throw over 90. And he said, when was the last time Greg Maddux ever threw a ball over 90? He said, what, wouldn't you rather be rich? He said, striking guys out, or would you rather be rich, from being a guy who has more control than trying to just blow it right by him. He said anybody can just blow it right by him. But that's special scene stuff like that. But,
Nice. My number one?
Number one.
This is actually pretty easy for me. And this is another one. Whenever it's on, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Money, money, money. Moneyball.
That's a good one. That should have been in my honorable mentions because that movie's actually.
And I'm a big numbers guy.
Mm-hmm.
So it was sort of cool to see
that
how
movie
they,
was
how they
very good.
Got their team together and stuff like that.
And
the streak that the A's went on.
Yes,
it's pretty cool.
The way that they portrayed it,
because I remember that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and I think that it shows that. I mean, the Rays are going that route too. I mean, but the A's keep going that route, but they just can't win. But the Rays are going that route, and it's working for them. But, I mean, a lot of portrayals of David Justice, of Scott Hatterberg, Jeremy Giambi, that guy. And then Huddy was on there. And then Eric Chavez. A lot of guys. Terrence Long. A lot of those good players that were around for a little bit, especially during that run, but even a couple of years after that, But that's one of those movies to where it's you got to watch it when it's on, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But are you ready for my number one?
Yeah, I think I got an idea.
You want to take a guess before I tell you?
I'm guessing because I sort of know how you think, and I'll take a stab. And I'm gonna say The Natural.
You are correct.
Am I?
It is.
Nice.
Oh, Roy Hobbs.
Nice, yeah.
That is other than Field of Dreams, that was one of the movies that I probably first got introduced to.
It's a little slow for me.
Well, go rewatch it.
Okay, I'll rewatch it. That's another
And,
one I need to rewatch.
Because it's kind of in that dead ball. Well, not necessarily dead ball kind of era, but old fashioned. Pop, the manager, is literally probably one of my favorite managers in any kind of movie. Just there's a scene after because Roy gets shot
right
with a silver bullet because there's this notorious murderer that likes to kill athletes. And she ends up jumping out of the window whenever she shoots Roy Hobbs, sets him back a long time, like 15 years, and he was going to be the greatest at everything. And he's sitting in the hospital and he said, I wanted to walk down the street and people say, look, there goes Roy Hobbs, the greatest hitter that ever was. And who was the greatest hitter that ever was? Ted Williams. What number was Roy Hobbs? He was number 9. Was he a lefty? Yes, he was a lefty. And as the game goes on, as the movie goes on and it starts to speed up, whenever he starts hitting those home runs and that soundtrack, that film right there, especially whenever he knocks the clock out of Wrigley Field, that right there just gives you goosebumps. And then at the end, plays catch with his son, just like his father did with him, And one of the things that stuck with me all throughout my baseball career was Roy Hobbs' father. He said, you have a gift, but it's not enough. You have to work at it, and you have to perfect it. So my father growing up, he said, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So that stuck with me all throughout the years, and every time I watch that movie, especially with my son, dang, I got to walk away. It makes me cry.
Yeah,
it is.
You got youngins.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That and Field of Dreams sort of hitting you hard right now.
Exactly.
I get that.
Yeah, exactly.
Pulling those heartstrings.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But that's a good list. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Have any honorable mentions for any other categories that you didn't think before, Commish? We can add in there stadiums or pitchers.
No, on stadiums.
Yeah.
On just a couple, like a player that I remember from the Braves. I mean, this guy, I don't even know if you'll know who this is. Do you remember Willie Montanez?
Yeah.
From first base?
Oh, yeah.
Remember how he showboated over there all the time? I sort of like that. He did a little thing here behind his back type of stuff.
Yeah.
It was sort of crazy.
Yeah. You remember whenever Andrew showboated and he missed it?
Yeah.
And then Bobby pulled him?
Some silly stuff like that, I guess you could say. I was fascinated with the Big Red Machine, so the Joe Morgans and the Johnny Benches and people like that.
Yeah, of course. And it's so funny that all those guys, like we were talking about Sal Bando passing away, with all those guys on the team, it's very, very rare that you have all of those superstars on the same team, on the same era at the same time. And a lot of these guys are Hall of Famers, So it's I always think it's a treat whenever we have players like Mike Trout that just. And the thing is I really don't think people understand how great of a player he is and how monumental and just historical.
I mean, they don't, because you don't see him much, right?
Yeah.
You hear about him, and I mean, this is a great example. I mean, you talk about some of these older guys that we never got to see live, but we just see from historical type of thing. I sort of look at like Trout like that because we've never really seen him live.
Right.
But you know what? He's coming to Atlanta this year.
That's right.
I'm definitely going to go see him.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it might be one of the best, 5-tool guys ever.
Yeah.
So definitely going to go check him out.
Yeah. And with Artie Moreno not selling the Los Angeles Angels, I want to talk about this just for 2 minutes, if that's okay, Commish. What are you going to do with Ohtani? You can't sign him again, can you? You just gave him 1 year, $30 million. That means if he goes on free agency, he's expected to get $40 million per year. You can't. I don't know. You might as well. It's almost like this. It's almost like you had greatness in front of you, but because you didn't capitalize on it and you did not draft pitchers, you have no depth behind the plate. You have no catching. Anthony Rendon has barely played any. And now you're going to yank him away from Mike Trout again, and Mike Trout is going to sit there with 1 year of playoff experience. He needs to be in the playoffs.
Right.
You know, he needs to be. Players like that need to be in the playoffs, you know, because that's where heroes are born, right, baby? You know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, going back to the Trout thing real quick, you know, I'm trying to think. If you ever get a chance, like if you got a guy that you think is one of the best, or you're just intrigued by this dude, you need to go see him play live, right? In baseball right now, for me, Trout's about it, who I haven't seen. That I want to see.
Yeah.
Is like one of those guys, right?
Oh, I do. I'm excited about seeing Verlander pitch in New York.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
You know, because I think basketball, I've seen most of those greats. I've seen the Larry Birds and the Michael Jordans and I've seen Lynn Bias in college.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was let's see, what year did he get drafted? 85? So he was a senior my freshman year.
Wow.
Probably, I mean, I know we're switching sports really
Right.
quick, but
Most natural athlete you've ever seen.
I think it's hard to say. Now, coming out of college, I think he's better than Jordan. Now, what he would have been in pros, I don't know.
Sure.
But, man, he was going to Boston where they already had Bird. Holy smokes.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, think about that. They were already pretty good back in the 80s. So, yeah, I mean, so if you get an opportunity to see, going back, that's why I came back to Mike Trout, you know, those guys, you know, like in football. I've seen Peyton Manning. I've seen Tom Brady. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like how kids back in the day go to Yankee Stadium, you know, Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
Or even going back and seeing Babe Ruth. He was just bigger than the game. And just seeing these guys and realizing that they're human, but then watching what they do, you know, it makes you, I don't know, it makes you feel like they're more than human and you're less. And for some reason, they just almost like not like a God complex, but just, you know, just a superhero, you know. But I am so excited that we talked about this commission. We got
Stuff.
this out.
Fun one.
It was good stuff, and thank you for everybody for sticking around. And continue to listen to 60 Feet 6 Inches. We're growing up.
We're hitting
growing
spring
up.
training really quick here.
Yes, we are. Less than a month. Pitchers and catchers report. So we will be here. We won't be in Florida, unfortunately, but
Why not?
we might be actually. Look at Commish. We're booking tickets already.
Actually, a buddy of mine is trying to get me to go down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I can make it happen though.
Cool Today Park.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Weird name. Probably a terrible choice of a name, but that's okay. I've seen worse, you know. Oracle Park.
So yeah, it'll be here before we know it.
It will be, and we will be here with you guys, and also to keep this show going. I mean, we're starting to grow a lot, Commish. To keep this show going, I have a social media account. I got my Instagram. It's called Official MB Whit. So everybody go there, check the link tree, and help keep 60 Feet 6 Inches, you know, at the top, because we're growing. It's in the top 100 podcasts in the whole world, Commish. Not just in the United States, but in the whole world. So let's keep it going, all right? Let's keep it going. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. It's been such a pleasure. Tune in next time for episode Lucky 13. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Keep your grass green and your pants dirty. So long, everybody.